The reality is this, and if there are any photographers listening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you put a camera around your neck and you got confidence, you can go anywhere because they will stop you. They'll say, "Excuse me, this is a secure site." And you can say, "Yes, but I'm the photographer." And they'll say, "Oh, come on in." And so to me, it was the perfect cover for a spy.
Some experts chase attention, but the smart ones build authority. You're listening to the Authority on Demand podcast, where credibility becomes your competitive advantage. Every week, we're pulling back the curtain on how founders and leaders turn expertise into inbound demand through books that position, media that converse, and strategies that actually move the needle. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authority on Demand. Now, let's turn your authority into leverage. Okay, everybody, let's start with a question today. What's the perfect cover for a spy in the modern world? Not a diplomat, too obvious, not a journalist, too scrutinized, not a businessman, too limited, but a photographer, someone who's expected to be everywhere, capture everything, and ask questions, someone whose equipment naturally looks technical and expensive, someone who could disappear into a crowd 1 minute and gain VIP access the next. Well, that's the premise of Double Exposure, the day thriller from today's guest, Kirk Voclain, and it's built on 45 years of real-world experience. Kirk is not just a novelist, he's a working photographer who's built studios, including the car right behind him today, taught around the world, and writes thrillers where the camera is both the cover and the weapon. So really exciting topic to cover today. Let's get into it. Kirk, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
Hey, real quick before we jump back in, if you're loving what we're doing here, hit that subscribe button and drop us a like. We're bringing you the best authors, the most real conversations, and all the writing wisdom that you didn't know you needed. So stick around because it only gets better from here. All right, now let's get back to the conversation.
Of course. Yeah. I just have to say, I love the premise of your book. I mean, people say, write what you know, but they don't usually say, write what you know and turn yourself into an undercover spy. So really cool. Really cool.
Well,
So
thank you.
I love it. Let's talk about you real quick for a second. I mean, about
Mhm.
your background. I mean, of course, you're a photographer. What made you decide to start, taking your experiences and putting it into the written word?
Well, I mean, like my photography career literally goes back. I was 15 years old. I'm 63 now, so if you want to add that up, you're welcome to do it. But I was 15 years old, and I did my very first professional wedding, meaning I got paid for it. And more impressive than the fact that I did a wedding at 15 years old is the fact that some idiot hired a 15-year-old to do their wedding. Okay. So anyway, here I am 40 some odd years later, and I'm still a photographer. I still do images. This is my primary job. It's like I said all the time. I do for a living what most people call a hobby. And I do for a hobby what most people call a living, which is writing. So the
And
writing thing, honestly, I don't know if it's in my bio or not, but I have been writing this story in my head for nearly 40 years. Okay. And it gets written and rewritten, and things happen to me in real life. And I'm like, oh, that's going in the book. Okay. And so, like I told you, I'm 63 now. I'm a little bit slower than I used to be. I have a little bit more free time. Second grandbaby on the way any day now. And so I'm like,
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And so I decided, you know what? Let's put pen to paper and make this happen. And I did it. And so, yeah, there you go. That's the kind of backstory.
Well, amazing stuff. Really cool. And it's interesting to think about how this was kind of brewing in your mind for all those years. And I could just imagine some of your clients being there thinking you're just taking their photo, when in reality you're imagining yourself like being a spy in the meantime.
Yes.
It's really funny.
Well, the
Um,
the reality is this, and I mean, if there are any photographers listening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you put a camera around your neck and you got confidence, you can go anywhere because they will stop you. They'll say, "Excuse me, this is a secure site," and you can say, "Yes, but I'm the photographer," and they'll say, "Oh, come on in." And so to me, it was the perfect cover for a spy.
I guess so, yeah. And I mean, kind of using that as a segue to talk about the book itself. I mean, I'm guessing some of this has to have been from your own experiences, being that you can kind of, I mean, you just said you can go anywhere you want as a VIP, but your book spans from like Vienna to New Orleans. So
Yes.
why these locations? Were those also your own personal experiences, or was
Yes.
that something? Okay.
Yes, I'll tell you. I am from Houma, Louisiana, which is about an hour from New Orleans. And, everybody loves New Orleans. It has texture and food, and, it has Mardi Gras and all these things that people love being a visitor for. So obviously, I was like, he has to be a photographer from New Orleans, okay? And then Vienna, while I have never been to Vienna, it is a place I've often aspired to go. But to me, from what I've read about it, what I've seen in pictures, it just feels like it has that same kind of texture as New Orleans. Plus, at the very beginning of the book, I needed a place for him to get on an airplane and have a 10 to 12-hour flight. And Vienna proved to be, I did all kinds of searching in various scenarios, and Vienna proved to be the perfect distance. So I was like, hey, Vienna it is. So that's how that came to be.
Okay, well, that's awesome that you have that. So I guess you don't really have to do too much research necessarily, being that it's kind of in the vicinity of what you've experienced in the past. Um,
Um, yes and no. I mean, like for example, I'm one of your questions you've asked me before we got started was like about rewrites and things like that. And,
Mhm.
I'm thinking to myself, this is just fiction. I can do anything. Well, I joined this writing group, and they called me, Jack. They was reading parts of the story and I was first doing it. And they just called me on it. They said, you know, you can't fly from New Orleans to Vienna direct. And you have this guy flying from New Orleans. I was like, dude, it's fiction. Oh no. So I had to rewrite all of that to make them happy, which I'm glad I did because that's the kind of little crazy details that people like. So I had to put him going through Chicago because you can't go through Chicago to Vienna. So, just little things like that all added to the fun of this. It's just been the greatest experience for me. I love spy novel. Okay. And I love how you read it and it's like a movie in your mind. Well, this was the coolest thing because I was making this movie in my mind and putting it on the page. And I would stop and go, I don't like where this is going. And so I would like, it was like rewind, rewrite, and it was like you could go wherever you wanted. It was just the funnest thing.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that because you're right. A lot of authors think that fiction means it could be fantasy, which is a genre, right? But to an extent, there has to be a level of realism to it. So you're right. I mean,
Yes.
if that flight doesn't exist and somebody actually lives there, they'd be like, okay, well, this is silly. So
Yeah.
it's cool that you learned that throughout the process. But hey, I mean, to expand a little bit more on a conversation, I mean, the locations are one thing, but the characters are another. I saw that the characters developed from like real photographers, conventions, and places, and you just changed some names. So
Yes.
tell us a bit about that, like an example of how you were inspired in a real life and a person developed into your character.
Sure, sure, sure. The main bad guy in the book is named Barry Cox, and he's from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, I just happen to be really, really good buddies with Gary Box from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so, while Gary is not a bad guy,
You say
he
he's your friend, you put him as a villain.
yeah, well, he's just got some little quirks about him that I was like, he's gonna make the perfect bad guy. Same thing with Keith Cranch. Well, I'm really, really good buddies with another photographer named Keith Branch, and things. And anyway, this goes on and on and on throughout the whole book. There is a sync, SYNC convention in the book. There really is. If you look it up, there really is a sync convention for professional photographers. And so I'm like, that sync has to go in the book because I just love the sync convention. I like the way it's organized. I like the guy who puts it on. I like all of that kind of stuff. So I was like, this has to go in the book. PPA, which stands for Professional Photographers of America. Well, PPA, while that's not in the book, PPI is in the book with a dual, it's kind of like the covert. They have a photographer side. They're all about the education. They're all about teaching photographers, which is what PPA is. But then there's the covert side that, is the spy network. And so, just stuff like that. It was just so fun to do.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's funny how you just kind of turn it into like a play on words, but based off your real experiences. That's really
Yeah.
creative.
Yeah. Another
Um,
real experience, I mean, I'll just tap on it real fast, is there's a golf course in Cabo, Mexico. That's a real golf course, Jack Nicklaus design, and that golf course is in the book for
okay.
a clandestine meeting, and it's because of the way that golf course is designed. It's a real golf course. So I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like that.
Absolutely. I love that. And lots of little Easter eggs like that too. Like I wouldn't have known about that golf course, but perhaps somebody else might, or now they know about it because of your book. So
Yeah,
you're kind of
yeah,
educating as well as entertaining.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of bouncing off that. I mean, this isn't your only book. You're kind of working on a novella after this. Is that the case?
Yes, it's going to be counter exposure. I know the name of it. I got a few paragraphs of chapter one going, but it's going to totally flip the script. Reed Sawyer is the good guy in my book, and Barry Cox is the bad guy. Think Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. Well, we're going to flip that switch, and so Barry, you're going to show everything from Barry's perspective, and Reed is going to be the bad guy in that book. And my thinking on that, why, is because of the fact that, I mean, people are not inherently just bad. People don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to do bad today. Well, they they may do bad things, but they always have a great reason. And when you hear their side of the story, sometimes it makes sense. I have found in my experiences that there's one side, another side, and then the truth that goes kind of down the middle. Well, that's going to kind of be this is going to be the other side, counter exposure. And then I got it in the back of my mind that I don't, it's to be named, but yet another book that then continues the story from there. So I don't know. It's so it's so crazy. I'm caught. My wife says, "You, I ain't seen you this excited in a long time." I'm like, "Baby, it's like the greatest game I have ever played." I don't know how else to describe it.
I absolutely love that. I'm glad that you have such passion for it. When you have passion for your work, it means the readers are going to be more inclined to be invested in it because they can sense that within the book itself.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess I'm kind of curious though. I mean, being that the villain is based on your buddy, are you writing a book on from his perspective also for the fact that like he was like, hey man, like make me the main guy in the next book? Like
No, he didn't say a thing. I'll tell you, I called him. I really did, because I was like,
Mhm.
I don't want to make nobody mad. I called him up and I was like, "Hey, I'm writing a book." He goes, "Yeah, right." I go, "No, really, I'm writing a book." And the bad guy is gonna be named Barry Cox, and he's like, "So?" I'm like, "Well, he's from Tulsa, Oklahoma," and he says, "Oh, that kind of sounds like me." And I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "I don't care." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So anyway, I sent him a manuscript. I haven't heard from him, but
That's great. No, I
anyway.
love that. So hey, let's dive into the writing process a little bit here. Um, so when I was looking at it, you said, photography kind of shaped your writing, but I'm curious to know, like, can you give us an example of how you would apply photography principle to a specific scene or chapter? I mean, in terms of like framing, focus, timing, clean
Yeah,
line.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the photography world, everything. What do they say? I'm gonna let you tell me, because I'm not. Everybody knows the answer. They say a picture is worth.
1,000 words,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Well, to me, all I'm doing is taking 1,000 words and drawing a picture in your mind. That's it. That's what, to me, and maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but that's what, to me, writing is. It's the same thing as what I do with photography. I take a picture, people look at it. Oh, she's so beautiful. Oh, look at that expression on her face. Oh my goodness, look at this. You captured her. Oh, you captured her. Great, all them words. Well, whenever you write, it's the same thing, but you're using the words to draw the picture. And in photography, there's a thing called impact, and it's difficult to explain impact. But what impact is, if you look at a picture and you've done it, and you go, "Wow, that is impact." Now, that may be different for you, different for the other guy. Well, that's what I was trying to accomplish when I wrote this book, is to generate impact, just like you do in photography. In photography, there's little rules that you follow, like what they call the rule of thirds. There's lighting, there's contrast, there's all these things. You use various things like lighting and contrast to direct people where you want them to look. Well, all of that can happen to me again in writing. It's just that you're using words now to draw the picture that I would normally do in a click. Does that make sense?
It weirdly does, and I wouldn't have ever thought about it that way, but it makes so much sense. I mean, if you're telling a story through the form of an image, it translates directly to how you can do it in words. So
Yeah.
cool. It's funny to think about how all these different types of art forms of communication are interrelated because you're still, getting that message across. So really
Yeah.
cool that you think about it that way. Um,
Cool.
so I guess I'm also curious, like, what was the day in the life of writing like for you then? Did you have to balance your photography career along with the writing side?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not telling anybody any kind of crazy secrets here, but Microsoft 365 works on all your devices. It works on your iPad, it works on your phone, it works on your computer, it works on your other computer. So that's what I have. I have that set up everywhere. And so, if I'm in New Orleans on a job and it's like the CEO says, "Oh, look, give me 30 minutes. I gotta go put a different tie." Okay. So what do? You sit, you wait. Man, I would whip out the phone and I would start typing on it with my thumbs. And I would, write a paragraph or a chapter, not a chapter, no, but I'd write a paragraph or a sentence or two or change something or reread or whatever. And then you get back in front of your computer and all that's been done for you. Okay. And so that was sort of it was between jobs. It was late in the afternoon. It was sitting on Sunday while football is playing in the background. I got the laptop in my lap and I'm, pecking away at the writing. My wife, my daughter, and her husband, we all went to Hawaii. That was a bunch of months ago, and I was still in the process of writing Double Exposure. And I know that sounds horrible. That I spent a week in Hawaii in the hotel room with the waves crashing in the background and my nose in the computer. But buddy, I was on a roll, and I just did it. And they went off to did this and they went off and did that, and I don't know. I just had a blast for a week in Hawaii writing my book. So does that kind
Well,
of help you as far as the crazy, crazy world of mine?
yeah, well, I mean, I feel like a lot of people do get inspiration from being in new locations, especially such a peaceful place like Hawaii. So I don't think you're crazy at all. I think that's exactly the kind of place that a writer would love to write. So you had it
Yeah.
all, it sounds like, actually.
Yeah.
I love that. So that's a great tip for people to follow. Like maybe if you have writer's block, just change up your routine. You might not be able to go to Hawaii, but maybe, go to the park or go
Yep.
outside or change the setting. So really great there.
Yeah. Good.
Um,
Good.
what about writing mistakes? Any like writing mistake that you made early on that you had to unlearn, or a habit that didn't quite match like the writing world as opposed to the photography world?
Yeah, two things. I mentioned one of them, which was the Vienna. I just assumed
Right.
fantasy fiction meant I had free reign to do whatever I wanted. But excuse me, yeah, my little writing group kind of helped me realize, no, you got to stay within a certain bounds. So I had to kind of rewrite that whole Vienna, New Orleans, Chicago thing. That was a hefty little mistake because that took a serious rewrite to make that happen. The other thing I did, I know, I Reed Sawyer in the main character in the book. He's pretty intense, and so I apparently I Reed's mind twisted or Reed's mind buzzed or Reed's mind, and apparently Reed's mind did so much twisting and buzzing that I literally had to go through the whole book and say, just exactly how many times did I say Reed's mind twisted? And anyway, that's the beautiful thing about Microsoft Word is you can search that phrase and
Mm,
you
search and
said it
replace.
500
Yeah.
times. Yeah. So anyway, that was another crazy mistake I made. And again, you just kind of you get on a roll and you don't realize you did that 15 times. So that was another mistake.
Understood. Yeah, I mean, as an editor myself, I know what it's like when somebody's writing a book and they don't realize the amount of times that they repeat the same phrase. The same way if I'm listening to my own podcast, I realize that I say certain phrases more often, right? So it's always good
Yeah.
to have a second eye on it. I'm sure in the editing process, perhaps that was something that they picked up on.
Oh
Did you
yeah.
get better? So I'm assuming you did.
Oh yeah. And the other thing that the editing process picked up on was, you know, I mean, yeah, we ain't been talking for too long that you don't realize I got like a million stories, right? So I was putting all these crazy stories, and the editor guy was like, "Dude, none of that matters. That's all your stories. That's great, but it doesn't add anything to this story. You got to keep it on this story." I was like, okay. So,
Right.
things like that.
Understood. Well, okay. Well, that's definitely something to think about moving forward. If you're an author, well, maybe you need to double check yourself, see what kinds of things you're doing in your own writing without even realizing it. So Kirk, I'm wondering then, you have the book out, you're thinking of another novella, but what else is on the horizon? Is there anything that oh, hey, wait, hold on,
Yeah.
hold that up.
Yay.
Let's exhibit probably to the cover. What was the design process like for that?
Okay. I'm a photographer. I am really good at Photoshop. So, I'm reworking one of mine, another one that it was a little short story that I wrote for a contest. I'm reworking it right now. And I mean, that's the thing about being a photographer and understanding Photoshop, that you can rework and rework and rework. You can do that to death. But yeah, that's what I just knew. I don't know, from the get go. I knew it needed to be a silhouette of someone on the cover. He needed to be holding a camera. It needed to say double exposure. Some little secret spy stuff. A code down here that don't mean anything but means a lot once you read the book. Just things like that. I just knew it. So I went in and started piecing in those components, and then you move them around, and this one don't go here, but that one goes there, and that was the cover process for me. And I mean, I'll pass it on to the other authors on this planet. Do a little research, do a little study. Don't just use Canva, because Canva is not. I mean, that's a free editing tool, and I understand we're trying to save money, but you can get Photoshop for a month for real cheap. Okay, and then you can just like throw it away if you want. They let you buy it on month to month type basis, but Photoshop is the way to go if you know how to use it.
Understood. Yeah, well, so Photoshop you'd recommend over Canva or any other editing tool, just to make it clear.
I think Photoshop blows Canva away. That's just, again, and I will admit this, for out of fairness, that it is a lot what you get used to. Okay, and I've seen some incredible stuff come out of Canva and other editing softwares, but to me, Photoshop, again, I guess that's what I cut my teeth on that. So
Understood. Okay, well, hey, there you go, guys. That's the tip for if you want to dabble in the photography world. I mean, because photography and writing, as we learned, do go hand in hand, so why not? And I mean, clearly you were able to apply those skills to the cover itself, so beautiful there. And now everyone, if you see that cover out on the shelves, go ahead and pick it up and give, give it a try. But hey, that being said, I mean, what is the best way for people to reach out to you if they want to get connected and stay up to date with the next novella, or even just pick up a copy of double exposure itself? What are the best
my,
methods?
yeah, sure. My website, my author's website is kirkvoclain.com, KirkVoclain.com. And as far as social, if you all of them, TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all of them, if you put in Kirk Voclain, they're all the same. I kind of did that by design to where all of the socials are exactly the same. So that's another thing, another way that you can message me or get in touch. If you search my name on Amazon, you'll see all the books.
Okay, well, there you go. We're going to put the links in the description box of this podcast today. So, guys, click on over, get in the know, stay in touch. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. And but before we go, though, I'm curious to know if you have any other tips or tricks to offer the audience today. Any last minute words for them to
Last
carry on with them?
last minute words. No, not per se. I mean, my other book, I will, since we play in Photoshop, my other book is Boots and Stilettos, and the picture is literally from Adobe Stock. So
Oh,
I don't know if you play with Adobe Stock, but I mean, I found the perfect picture on Adobe Stock that looked like the girl in the book, looked like the guy. And so that's another thing you should possibly look into. I don't know. It was, like I said, I can't say it enough. This was so much fun to do.
Yeah, thank you. You're a great guest. You have a lot of fun insights and very unique, perspectives on things. I talk to a lot of authors every day, but not a lot of them are actually. I think you might be the first one to really like, integrate photography and writing. I think that's a really cool.
Well,
And you
good.
I love that. So yeah, I mean, everybody listening, there you have it. If this conversation gave you value and you're inspired, well, check out Kirk's book. Continue listening to more Authors on Mission podcast episodes, and until next time, keep writing, keep leading, keep inspiring. We'll see you next time on the Authors on Mission podcast.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Authority on Demand podcast. If today's conversation sparked something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with a founder or leader who's ready to stop being the best kept secret in their industry. If you want to turn your expertise into inbound demand, head to authorityondemand.com to see how we help clients go from unknown to in demand. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, and I'll catch you on the next one. Now, go build some authority.